Good afternoon, everybody. Is there anyone in the room? Oh, there's people at the back. The guys at the front, you're dead. Sorry to tell you. Okay, my name is Elena, and I'm thrilled to be your MC on this stage this afternoon, this wonderful arena stage, where we have a band. So thank you to Alex, Marcos, Pedro, exactly. We have a band. If you have any special requests for the band, please let me know. Just raise your hand, and they can play everything. So let us know. There's been some complaints that we play too loud, but who cares? Okay, so this afternoon, we're going to talk, there's a general topic called disruptives. Listen and learn from disruptive leaders. And we're going to start with the top. The word, which is Amazon. Why are you here, everybody? Why are you here? You write Amazon on a program anywhere, and you have the full room, usually. Well, we're competing with a lot of top people here, but there you go. Yes, so you're the lucky ones. But we're going to have three big words this afternoon: artificial intelligence, machine learning, and obviously Amazon. Well, as you know, Amazon uses machine learning and artificial intelligence behind almost everything they do. Sometimes you can see it more easily and more clearly, like with Alexa's assistant voice assistant, or with the drones, they have machine learning behind them. But sometimes it's not so easy or so evident, you know? It's underneath, it's beneath the surface. To talk about Amazon's new approach to IA and ML, we have organized a chat with the VP Global Innovation Policy and Communications at Amazon, a veteran, because he's been almost 20 years in the company, so he knows everything about it. But his passion is the same one, as he says, as the first day. He's in charge with advocating Amazon's culture and methods of custom-based, obsessed innovation. They are obsessed, as you know, with customers, and that's why they do so well. There must be other secrets. I'm sure we'll be able to ask him questions, so feel free to ask. And to facilitate the chat, we have a person that no need for introduction. You all know him because he's the managing director of the Venture Lab at IE Business School. So please, let's welcome Paul Misener and Paris Deletras. Welcome, everybody. Come on, join us up. Come on, hurry up. There's space here. Hello, Paris. Paul, welcome.
Thank you, Helen.
Yeah, welcome, Paul. I'm just letting people come in. Sorry, I was saying the magic word, Amazon, 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 and the room starts filling up. All yours, Paris, Paul. Thank you for coming.
If it works.
Thank you, Elena. All right, let's grab a seat. I got to admit that I wanted to be moderating this discussion because Paul and I go back quite a while. I think he's the person that travels more than I do, and those of you that know me know that's a lot of traveling.
Nothing to be proud of here.
I think last time we went was in Dubai, right?
I think so, yeah.
Exactly. So we're going to talk today about AI and ML, machine learning. And what I thought I'd start with is asking Paul how he defines AI and machine learning, because that's really, I mean, a lot of people, they hear the words, it's like almost like a buzz theme all the time. But what is it? In layman's terms, Paul, what is machine learning and AI?
Well, they're not synonymous, Paris. It turns out that machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence. And so artificial intelligence is when you use machines to do something smartly, kind of like a human might do, and to do them intelligently. Machine learning, on the other hand, is artificial intelligence that by itself gets smarter.
Okay, so AI is going to have an impact on our lives, right? And I know a lot of people are worried about jobs. I mean, we're here in Spain. I think the last figure of unemployment was about 15%. What do you tell someone that is concerned about the role of AI with respect to, destruction of jobs?
Yeah, so it's hard to overstate the importance of what artificial intelligence and machine learning will do for every aspect of our lives. It will improve our lives in just about every area over the next couple of decades. As far as employment goes, Amazon has a long history of side-by-side hiring lots of people and employing automation. And so even back in late 99, early 2000, when I joined the company, we had forms of artificial intelligence, something called collaborative filtering, determined what we call the recommendations that you get. If you've ever had a chance to shop at Amazon, when you purchase something, oftentimes the website will offer up recommendations of other things that you might like. Well, that technology dates back to the mid-90s, and that's artificial intelligence. So at the same time, we've been deploying more and more automation in our business, including in our warehouses, but at the same time, we're also hiring more individuals. Now, that said, the kinds of jobs that will exist in the next decades and the next century will obviously change. I mean, if you look back 100 years ago and sat down with a group of a couple thousand people like this, and virtually all of them are farmers, and then you describe the kinds of jobs that you anticipate in 2019, and you talk about working with artificial intelligence, et cetera, they wouldn't have any clue. So we don't really know what the jobs are going to be, but there will be jobs, and those jobs are going to be ones that require humans, and where humans can actually have more fulfilling kinds of work. And so I don't think anyone should be afraid, but we also have to approach this very intelligently, make sure that we're working on retraining existing workers and making sure that students coming into the workforce are properly trained.
Paul, when I wake up in the morning, it's usually early. And the first thing that I do...
Probably not as early as I.
Probably not, because you're from the Northwest.
I'm up at like 3:45.
Oh, no. I'm talking maybe 7 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, that's sleeping in, man.
Yeah, I sleep in. But you know, the first thing I do is say, "Good morning, Alexa." Mm-hmm. And Alexa will tell me the meetings I have that day. She'll tell me what the weather's going to be. She'll tell me the exact time. So is Alexa going to improve? What else could she do for me?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we don't know. We don't know all the things that Alexa can do, in part because we're relying on outside parties to develop skills. These are essentially the apps for Alexa. And she's getting smarter. She's getting smarter not only because of the addition of these skills, these apps, but also because she's learning the kinds of things that are important to you as a customer of Amazon. And so Alexa will get better specifically for you, but it will also get better across for all of our customers. And that's really important. That relies on the kinds of machine learning tools that now we are also making available to third parties through Amazon Web Services. This is our cloud computing business. But so now we're witnessing a democratization of machine learning and artificial intelligence. Everyone in this room can now avail themselves of those sorts of tools for whatever interests you.
Okay, let's talk now about AI and machine learning with respect to outside work. Let's forget about jobs.
Yeah.
In our homes. You recently acquired Ring. Mm-hmm. Is there a role there for AI?
Oh, absolutely. We want Ring to become smart as well, to get smarter and smarter. And
could it recognize people like coming to the door?
Of course. There's no reason why not. So the Ring technology is really great in the first place. I mean, if you've not tried it, it's kind of cool. But it will get smarter as well.
For those of you that don't know, Ring is like in your doorbell in the U.S., and it can warn you. It starts to film the people that are like ringing the bell and stuff like that.
Yeah, and if you don't adjust the settings right, it'll warn you if a spider goes in front of it too. So you have to tinker with the settings to make sure the sensitivity and the areas where it's looking for motion are appropriate for your particular application. But yeah, and it will get smarter.
Eventually, Alexa could say, "Your mother-in-law is right outside the door."
Yeah, and then you go right out the back door.
Okay, so let's also talk about something else, kids.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, this is a great story, and maybe you want to share it with the audience here. Paul not only takes AI seriously at work, he takes it seriously at home.
Yeah.
Tell us about your kid.
Well, my elder son has long been interested in meteorology and atmospheric sciences. And so we decided to take on a project about a year ago where we would take weather data, meteorological data, which is plentiful if you know where to look, and see if it could be used to actually predict tornadoes. These are very violent storms that occur mostly in the American Midwest and parts of Australia. And predicting weather of any sort is notoriously difficult. It's where chaos theory sort of began as a science or a mathematics. And we thought that maybe if by applying some machine learning to weather data, predictions could be made. And so we employed a fairly simple version of machine learning running on AWS, on Amazon Web Services, which is called a binary classifier. And a binary classifier takes a bunch of data and then makes a yes or no kind of prediction. Yes, there will be one, no, there will not. And so the hard part, frankly, was distilling all that information down into a manageable size that could make a prediction about whether there was going to be a tornado of force greater than EF2 on the Fujita scale. You don't need to know that. But the whole point was big data applications, which had been completely impossible to even conceive of addressing just 10 years ago, now are easily addressed and on the cheap.
So do you think eventually ML or machine learning will help kids with their homework?
Well, you know, at some level you don't want them to help with the homework, right? Because you want them to understand what's behind the kinds of thinking that they're being taught. But certainly it's going to change every aspect of our lives. It's a tool. It's an important tool. And so sometimes you want a mathematics test and allow the students to use a calculator. And sometimes you don't. Sometimes you would rather have them demonstrate their ability to do it on their own. But at some level, you face the same kind of a question with machine learning and artificial intelligence. You want them to be able to use a tool that's going to be so important in their lives in the coming decades that you want them to learn that, but not at the expense of learning the basics, of course.
Of course, but I mean, at the end of the day, if it can be automated, if it's like grunt work, that's not where you want your kids spending their time anyways. So
that's all true.
Being able to use these tools is critical to them, learning the things that are really important out there.
Yeah, and there's a history of up-leveling what is essential to learn as a child. I mean, we don't all have to learn Latin anymore, right? That seemed to be the thing that you must learn when you're 5 and 6 years old 300 years ago. We don't do that anymore because it's really not an important thing, or we've moved beyond it. Likewise, it feels like, there will be a time when things like keeping a calculator off of a test will be viewed as unimportant. For example, I don't know how many, you and I may be the only ones in this room who know how to use a slide rule. You don't need to know that anymore, even though that was an essential teaching, a few decades ago.
You've just uncovered my age group.
Well, there's no hiding it. We're contemporaries.
Most of my students think I'm a millennial, so.
Okay.
So let's get back.
They need some artificial intelligence.
All right, let's get back to reality here. So one of the decisions that you guys made recently, which was placing a pretty strong bet, was that free shipping for Prime members was going to work.
Yeah.
Did AI play any role there?
Not really, not much. And so this is Amazon Prime. If you don't know it, it's an annual subscription service which initially gave access to customers to get free 2-day shipping on millions of items. Since then, the products and services available to Prime members has expanded dramatically. But at the time, it was really trying to get at free shipping. The customer experience of e-commerce at that moment, and this is sort of the early to mid-2000s, was one where you could find an item that you wanted to buy online and you would see a price associated with it, but it was only after you went through the whole process of entering in your name, address, credit card information, and all that you finally get to a total price, including the shipping. And sometimes the shipping was very expensive, and so customers were turned off by that. It's just a bad customer experience, especially when you're trying to compare the price of an item to something that you also saw in a physical store. So we had this thought, and it was mostly subjective. There wasn't a lot of data to support it or refute it at that point. But we had this thought that customers would love to have a notion of what the final price is when they're just looking at the object. And that would mean taking out the shipping costs. And the only way we saw to do that would be through a shipping subscription service. And in the early years, it was questioned. People wondered whether this was a sustainable model, especially given that the money that we were spending on shipping, making it free to customers, was our money. right? It wasn't customer money somehow. We were spending money, and that money was going away forever because it was going to shipping companies. It wasn't like we were investing in a physical plant where even if it lost money, we could eventually sell it for pennies on the dollar. It was a case where money was just going out the door. And so it turns out we were right. Customers love Prime, and they love all the new benefits that now are offered to Prime members. But it was a bit of a qualitative or a subjective sort of an assessment in advance.
Okay, let's now get to the basics, because as you know, I spend a lot of time talking to big companies about user experience and how that is more important nowadays even than the product. And I always talk about Amazon because you guys are obsessed with the customer. I don't think there are very many companies in the world that are as obsessed with the customer as Amazon. And what you guys do all the time is go after the pain points. And as Jeff Bezos says, he doesn't believe in customer service because if you need customer service, then it means you're not doing something right. So talk to me a little bit about the culture inside the company. How do you, and I know when you recruit, you look for people that have emotional intelligence, empathy, so that they can relate better with these customer pain points. Talk to us a little bit about how you recruit people and the sort of people that you want in the company that can really transmit this customer obsession to clients.
Yeah, so first of all, there's a subtle difference in our terminology. We don't talk about UX inside the company, we talk about CX. So it's not some vague user out there, it's a customer. And so we obsess over that customer, want to improve her customer experience, her CX. We have 14 leadership principles, which are the principles by which we make decisions, by which we hire people, evaluate them annually, and so forth. They really are what we live by. But the first and foremost of the 14 is customer obsession. And the customer obsession principle is written starting by, we start with the customer and work backwards. And this determines how we innovate, for example. We will picture a new product or service that we want to offer to our customers sometime in the future, it may be months or years from now, but we'll actually sit down today and write out the press release announcing it. That press release is destined to go out months or years from now, but we write the press release today. It does really three things for you. First, you've made a commitment in writing, so you can't just decide, oh, this was hard, we didn't really mean to decide that. No, you've written it down, and so it will govern how you behave for the next several years. Second, it's written in customer terms. So what's in it for her? What does she get out of it? It's the what, not the how. The how is up to us to figure out. The third thing is, you're admitting that what you want to do for your customers is today impossible. Because if it were possible today, you'd write the press release and send it out in the morning or early next week after the lawyers looked at it. You're writing a press release for a long time from now, and working backwards from that press release, you're going to have to invent and innovate things that just aren't possible today.
For many people, AI, and for many companies that are probably here present, it's almost like this unknown that they know they need to get into because it's a wave that's coming. And we've had lots of waves, in the last 30 years that people have had to ride. But a lot of people don't take it seriously. And one of the things that I really admire about Amazon is, for you, AI is a strategy. You see AI as fundamental to the strategy of the company. Talk to us more about that.
Well, first and foremost, AI and machine learning can be used to improve CX, customer experience. So that's enough. I mean, that's sufficient that we can do things better for customers by using artificial intelligence, so we do it. At some level, it's that simple. Second, we're very familiar with it. We've been doing it for a long time. You mentioned Alexa. The way we store things in our warehouses, for example, relies on a tremendous amount of AI because we don't store all of one product in one set of shelves. It's not like if you want the latest Harry Potter and there's 3 racks of Harry Potter books. No, those books are spread all over the warehouse. A human could not possibly know where all those books are. The computer does. And when there's an order then for a Harry Potter book, a pair of shoes, a pot and pan set, then the computer determines which of those are chosen in the most efficient way to get them out the door the fastest. And so we've been relying on this artificial intelligence and machine learning for a long time, but underlying it all is customer obsession. We can make what we do, the products and services we provide to customers, better using it.
Let's talk a little bit about the dangerous side of AI. And I know that your CEO is very concerned about this. He's written a lot or talked a lot about how we need to regulate somehow the use of AI or enemy drones or things that could be used to do harm. What's behind that sort of push on the behalf of your company to make sure that AI is not used for nasty purposes?
Yeah, so there are other CEOs who have been more outspoken on this point than Jeff, but we've always made clear, and he's made clear, that things like autonomous weaponry is extremely scary. If anybody in here is not scared of autonomous weapons, they ought to be. But that is actually something that is the capability exists today for that. That would be sort of narrow artificial intelligence. So a narrow artificial intelligence, the sort of things that we're doing today and learning to do better today, could include that kind of weaponization. It feels like there's a need for some sort of international agreement on that as soon as possible. We really need to be worried about that. But that's, of course, people are pretty good at killing themselves anyway, without the help of machinery. And so, that's more of a person problem. There's a second kind of AI, sort of call it a general AI, where there's a self-awareness and setting its own objectives. We're nowhere near that point. And we may never ever get there. I mean, that's sort of, the thing that morphs into something that protects itself and attacks humans. We're not at that point, and it's kind of difficult to imagine how we get to that point. I'd be much more worried about solving the immediate issue of using artificial intelligence for, warlike purposes.
Right. Which brings us to the point of how far AI is going to go. There are a lot of people that think AI eventually will replace humans. I'm not one of those. There are people that say that AI will never be able to exercise real judgment. Obviously, if you look at the things that, as a humanity, are sacred to us, or the things that it's very difficult to even imagine AI to be able to have as real feelings, spirituality, all these things. Where do you guys see the limits to AI?
It's hard to tell now. I mean, those limits clearly exist now. And sort of in the near term, I can say with some certainty that we'll still be in this sort of narrow AI world. Whether it ever transcends to that self-awareness, I don't know. That's pretty far away if it ever happens. But we ought to be taking care of the things that matter now. And so, like any new technology, it can be used for good or ill. And facial recognition is one that's received a lot of attention. We're very sensitive to this, and we believe that near-term regulation is necessary. It shouldn't stifle innovation for the positive uses of facial recognition. At the same time, there is room for policymakers to take a stand here, and we're on their side. I mean, we want to work with them to figure out the right solution, but not in a way that stifles innovation, but at the same time takes care of the legitimate concerns.
Okay, we're just about out of time, but getting back to the point I made at the beginning, because there are a lot of people today worried about jobs in AI. Amazon is probably one of the biggest users or practicers of AI in the world, but you're also one of the biggest employers in the world. Mm-hmm. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, it's never been mutually exclusive. We've always used automation to make all of Amazon employees more efficient, better at what they do, better able to focus on the things that require human skills, and so automation is part of it. When I first joined late '99, I mean, people were pushing around carts, going through aisles, pulling things off the aisle and putting them in the cart, trying to assemble a customer order, but they had a handheld scanner which was attached to this computer system which told them where to go, where the things were, and what's the most efficient path to. Things have obviously improved dramatically in our fulfillment centers since then, and we continue to hire apace. So there's not this zero-sum game. You'll recall the Luddites, when they busted up the millworks, they were afraid of losing a particular kind of a job. But obviously there have been far more jobs created since the Luddites. Believe me, this is not a criticism of the people who are concerned about this. Any big enterprise, government or private, deserves scrutiny. I mean, we including we deserve your scrutiny. But let's have a very objective conversation about these kinds of things. And I don't personally believe it's a worry. I believe that automation will give humans more time to focus on the things that humans do best.
Well, the reality is that Amazon is now hiring about 650,000 people, so I think that speaks for itself. All right, let's give Paul a big hand.